Okay, folks, my baby's sick, so I had to stay home today. So I just wanted to give you the same stuff, the same information that the other classes got, so you didn't fall behind or anything like that. So I'll try and make it as brief as possible. Okay, so we will talk about beliefs starting out. Okay, so beliefs are ideas about reality. So like think like science, religion, politics. In other words, some of the most controversial stuff that we can ever deal with. That's what we're talking about with beliefs, right? So oftentimes some of these claims are unprovable. That's what leads them to be so controversial a lot of times. You know, the old adage about not talking about religion or politics at the table. Beliefs can be very controversial sometimes. Okay, so this would be another example of non material culture, not stuff, but abstract things. Okay, and again, just to review, non-material culture, beliefs, ideas, values, knowledge, norms, those are all non-material culture. Material culture would be the stuff, the things. And remember, again, that our stuff, not only do values and beliefs influence what we value in terms of physical things, but our physical things like phones, the example we used before, can shape our non-material culture. They can change our norms and our values as well. So it goes both ways. Okay, this is new. Ideal culture versus real culture. Ideal culture is what we say we're about. Real culture is what we really are. All right. So, like in school, maybe we say we are an anti-bullying place, but in reality, is there bullying that happens here? Absolutely. We might say students here are honest and follow the correct procedures when they're testing. In reality, there are some students who cheat on their tests. Okay, that's the difference: ideal culture versus real culture. If we go outside of the school and we look broadly at our society, we might say every American has a chance to realize the American dream and be financially successful. The reality is there are some people, for a variety of reasons, that can never achieve that goal. So that would be the real culture. Now we need, that's maybe sounding kind of negative here, but we need ideal culture because it's something that we set up, that we strive for. We may not reach it, but it's something that we try to attain. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead here. This you need to memorize, these three things. Why do cultures change? We see this with every culture, that it doesn't stay the same, it doesn't stay static. The first thing is they discover something. So it's not like it's something new, but they discover something that already existed. So like here in the United States, if you go back in time, there weren't any women's sports. And then we find, oh, okay, yeah, women really can be athletic and can play sports. So that would be an example of discovery that happened in our culture and changed our culture. Second thing would be invention. That's where you make something new. So a lot of times we're talking technology, like the cell phone. And then that changes values, norms, everything. The last thing is diffusion. Diffusion is when you spread something out. Okay, so when a culture experiences diffusion, it borrows ideas, knowledge, and so forth from another culture. So it could be a type of government like democracy, like from the ancient Greeks, or it could be a new type of food, a new type of fashion, anything like that, where it spreads from one culture to the other. That's diffusion. So again, make sure you memorize and you can explain in a sentence what each of these means: discovery, invention, diffusion, because there will be a question like that on the summative where you have to be able to demonstrate that you've memorized it and you can explain each of those. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about here today: subcultures versus counterculture. Subculture is a part of the larger culture that a subculture has the same basic values and beliefs as the larger culture, but it differs in some important ways. Okay, so that could run the gamut from young people, youth, they're a subculture. Native Americans, so it could be ethnic or racial. That would be an example of a subculture. Musicians, so it could be based on what you do, profession. That's a subculture as well. So it can include many different things. All right. Basically the same thing as the larger culture, except it differs in a few important ways. Now, a counterculture is a type of subculture, but it's separated out from the larger culture. Okay, so it's not and that's by design. They disconnect themselves from the larger culture because they oppose the basic beliefs or attitudes or norms of the larger culture. So the example I use that I'll talk about in a little more depth when we get back together would be the hippie movement in the 1960s. They rejected the basic beliefs and values of the larger American culture. That's what a counterculture is. So a couple other examples: the goth movement. You guys know that. You're familiar with that. Punk culture. Those would also be countercultures, I would argue. All right, so you're going to be watching a video about the straight edge movement, which started early 1980s, and it's at different times it's grown in popularity and then it's fallen. Right now, I don't hear too much about it. The video is from 2008 when it was riding another crest of popularity. So at the end of that, what you need to be able to do is, and you'll write about this, tell me if you think it's just a subculture or if you actually think it's a counterculture movement. All right, so that'll be the last thing that you do. Okay, we'll do a couple more things on Friday when you're in here again. And then after we get back from break, we'll review. And then probably that week, we'll have a test on culture. Okay, so take care, and I'll see you again soon.